Greetings, citizens of Chicago, and those of you viewing this subversive live stream broadcast, podcast, whatever the hell they're calling it. As Chicago's mayor, I have commandeered this broadcast under the Chicago Internet Authority. Yes, it is too a thing. And I would like to set the record straight on a few things. First, I have a wonderful sense of humor. Anyone who saw my tiny house initiative can see that. Second, just because I'm height challenged doesn't mean I don't appreciate the humor of the Lollipop Guild, of whom I was once affiliated with when I was...
You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Hello, hi, welcome to Taco Tuesday. Who wants a taco? Yeah, I know. Tacos, go crazy. All right, everyone, act normal. Perfect. Now, everybody say,
oh my God! It's Taco Tuesday!
What are you doing?
I'm doing the show.
What's the show?
What's the show? The show is Chicago Corner. You know damn well what the show is.
Is that thing where you sit in front of the screen all the time?
Yeah, and you always walk on my keyboard and screw up the controls when I'm trying to talk to people.
Oh, is that what? Oh, sorry. About
my
that.
little boy?
I didn't mean to do that.
All right, I know you did.
And voila, pizza tacos.
It was Pegleg who started the Great Chicago Fire.
You dirty son of an elf, get back here and help me put out this fire. Oh, sure, like the people will believe that Santa went on a bender in October and started a bonfire. What happened? Where am I? Oh, wait, I see it. You mean I could have pressed that button the whole time?
Did you order thousands of new jobs and a pepperoni?
Here's the problem I have. The first problem I have, Jerry. Pepperoni? Are you freaking kidding me? Chicago, Jerry, is an Italian sausage town.
You better believe it.
That's
what she said.
Damn it, and there are ants in my whiskey.
They add flavor, Kira. Is that
man,
like the worm in tequila?
Have you seen my whiskey ants anywhere?
That's okay. That's okay. The show will go on, everybody.
A happy Taco Tuesday. Oh, hello. And welcome to Taco Tuesday. My name's Ed Heller. I'm here on Chicago Corner, and I hope you're enjoying the broadcast so far. We managed to wrestle the live stream back from Mayor Lightfoot, who I don't know how she got on here in the first place, but we'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so happy Taco Tuesday. It's also Boxing Day. Which I guess they celebrate in places like the UK and Canada. which is really weird, and be happy to talk about that. But let me bring on my co-host for the evening, Mr. Jerry Vasilatos. Happy Taco Tuesday, Boxing Day, Jerry. Oh, I guess that logo is a little big.
It's all right. I'll position myself in the right spot. You know, Ed, I think you've got a very, very lucrative and promising career in stand-up comedy. I mean, after that intro, I feel like I should just like hang it up and resign. That was brilliant. I think that, you know, it's good to know Mayor Lightfoot knows who we are and that we're a threat. We're now we're still a triple threat with Kira helping us behind the scenes. But, you know, speaking of pizza really quickly, when we delivered toys to Urban Prep Academy from our toy drive last week, and I drove up, they thought I was the pizza delivery person. It was hilarious. And I'm like, no, I'm more important. I'm the toy delivery person. And they said, that's true. It's more important. But I you know, of course, we always think of quick quips afterwards. I should have said something like, you know, you're lucky it wasn't Lori Lightfoot driving up and delivering your pizzas.
Yeah.
So,
Well, because, you know, for one, pepperoni. I mean, look,
yeah.
I like pepperoni, but come on, Chicago is a sausage town.
That's what she said.
Anyway, what are we talking? Oh, we're talking about. Actually, let's talk about our fundraiser. We did a toy and food drive that we did last Friday that we on our live stream,
which miraculously people showed up to despite the cold weather.
Yes, it was super cold. It was, I mean, like really, really, really cold, and it was amazing that people showed up to drop off food and toys. I wasn't expecting much, but I was really impressed by the haul that we did get that night. And so thank you everybody for that. And speaking of thank yous, I want to thank our Patreon supporters.
Yes.
We got Dominic Palella and Kathy Powers. Thank you very much for being Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, let's get the crawl going. Thank you, Patreon supporters, and happy holidays. Patreon.com/Chicago Corner.
/
It's a /
Actually, is it?
Yeah. Sorry, I've been using computers since age 8, so yeah.
All right.
It's a /
I'll take your word for it. I always
it's okay.
People saying /
Yeah, because everybody says it that way. But it's cool. So thank you very much, Patreon supporters. We appreciate your help. It really does help us so that we can do things like cover those mayoral debates, which we're hoping to cover more. And let's see.
And promotional costs. We are hoping sometime in the future we can rent an electronic billboard and get more people to know that we're over here on YouTube.
Yeah. So let me just switch the title here, just so everybody can see. Jerry Vasilatos is with us today. Not just the promotional graphic here, and he is at Nightstar Pro on Twitter.
Thank you for that.
And I'm going to put that back up just because it's fun. But and we do have let's see. We're going to talk a little bit about Boxing Day just because it's weird, and also we're going to talk about Kwanzaa because a lot of people don't know what these holidays are. But today's the first day of Kwanzaa. It's Boxing Day is usually the day after Christmas. Although I think they call it the Feast of Stephen, or it coincides with that. It's kind of a weird holiday in that I think its origins were that originally it was meant to be one of those holidays that, like, because it was after Christmas, that everybody especially the wealthy people around would give boxes of things to all the people who provided services to them, like the day before or the year before. And so that was the original thing, but then it's morphed into almost like one of those Black Friday events, Jerry. So it's like and I think I think we can explain it a little bit better from Loading Ready Run channel, which hopefully we won't get copyright struck for this tiny little piece of video
Before you run that, I want to. I don't know if you noticed in the live chat, we have a new viewer, and I want to welcome Papal Penguin Gaming. Papal Penguin Gaming. Hi, I'm new to your channel as I have only lived in the city since July. I'm originally from the northwest suburbs, but love living in the city and the uptown neighborhood. Papal Penguin Gaming, I'm so glad that you found us and that you're joining us. Please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button and share us. We're glad to have you here, and we're always glad to share comments from our live chat and our audience.
Yes, welcome, and thank you, Jerry, for keeping an eye on the live chat. I'm pressing a million buttons over here.
That's all right. I'll keep an eye on it. And so,
Thanks.
Ed, also just forgive me if I do interrupt. I hate interrupting you, but if I do interrupt you, it's just because there might be something interesting that I want to share from our viewers in the chat. So I'll try
it's perfect. It's perfectly cool with me. So here we are, and this is just going to lead to more confusion. So please enjoy.
Sarah, her dad smiled. It's time you learned what Boxing Day is all about. What in the world is Boxing Day? Asked Sarah, her eyes growing wide. Was there really a whole holiday she'd never heard of? Sarah's father put down his flat-screen TV and put a kindly arm around her shoulder. You see, lots of people think Boxing Day is just the day after Christmas, but really Christmas is the day before Boxing Day. Sarah was confused. Isn't that the same thing? You know all the Greek and Roman gods, right? Like Zeus and Kratos and the Kraken? Sarah nodded, and her dad continued. Well, the most beloved of the gods was Boxidus, the god of savings, who offered the ancient Greeks up to 70% off. 70% off?
Boxidus?
No, come on. I've heard Boxing Day, but I never knew what it was about. So if this is a spoof, it's hilarious. But if this is
about, Jerry, it's the ancient god of savings who offered the ancient Greeks up to 70% off. So I'm going with it for now.
Okay.
What? She asked, but her dad ignored her and kept talking. To celebrate Boxidus, people went out and shopped all day, and then afterwards there were feasts and dancing and friendly times as everyone celebrated with their new stuff. It was the best and biggest holiday of the year. But I thought Christmas was the biggest holiday of the year, followed by American Thanksgiving and the Super Bowl, Sarah said. Her dad laughed. That may be true today, but a long time ago, Christmas was just sort of a pre-show for Boxing Day. Then over thousands and thousands of years, Christmas became more popular. Eventually, it became so popular that people started associating Christmas things like peace and love and family with this time of the year, instead of what it's supposed to be about, shopping and bargains and getting a better deal than other people.
Does Child Protective Services enter this story at any point?
No.
And that's all you needed to know.
So that's why I'm getting all these emails from companies that are giving me savings and coupons for Boxing Day to order after Christmas. It's a Christmas epilogue that's kind of like the Marvel tag on at the end credits of Marvel movies. It's like one extra holiday before New Year's, before the holiday for the New Year.
Yeah, they were basically making it like it's better when people give you gift cards on Christmas so you can use them on Boxing Day to buy all the stuff you really wanted.
Got it. Now, and where did it originate?
I have no idea. I think the United Kingdom originally, although I was learning about Canadian Boxing Day. I guess it's similar. And mainly what they do on that day is watch sports and shop. So not too different from a lot of the American holidays, right?
It's like Thanksgiving after everybody eats.
Yeah, it felt very much like they're just, let's just do Black Friday, only day after Christmas.
Papal Penguin adds, Papal Penguin Gaming, I work in technical support for one of Chicago's best independently owned internet providers. Now, also in the chat, Constitutional Conservative, and we are going to rename him Contributional Conservative due to the huge haul of gifts he brought on Friday, and he also bought your Chicago Corner Crew pizza.
Yes, it was delicious.
Yeah, Papal Penguin, Constitutional Conservative, says he lives in Uptown too. Welcome. I will share with you that's probably a warning, but take it as you will. He lives close to you. No, I bust loose balls all the time. It's fun.
It's good because then maybe he'll buy pizza for you too.
That's right.
So okay, so that's Boxing Day, and let's see, what else are we going to talk about today? Oh, okay. Well, it's the last day of Hanukkah, first day of Kwanzaa, and let's see, do I have a video ready for that? I do have a video ready for that. So we have from CBS to Chicago. I think that was who it is. Yeah, here we go. A little.
Today marks the beginning of Kwanzaa, the 7-night celebration honoring African-American culture and traditions. CBS 2's Sade Gray shows us how several generations are coming together to celebrate.
Remember what the colors mean? We talked about this morning.
As Christmas and Hanukkah comes to an end, Kwanzaa is just beginning.
Too often we think of the holidays as just like a vacation and, food and gifts, and that's the opposite of what Kwanzaa is actually about. And it's really about grounding ourselves in the 7 principles.
Yeah, so that's it's like the anti-Boxing Day, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, right? They're all falling on the same, like the first day of Kwanzaa is the same as Boxing Day. Okay.
Principles are unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. In Evanston at the Fountain Square, Kwanzaa was recognized with a human-sized kinara, a 7-candle holder. The black candle was lit today, which represents the people or unity. Gilo Kwesi Logan brought his 6-year-old son to learn more.
Here in Evanston to me, represents the unification and the partnerships between the Jewish, because it's the last day of Hanukkah, and the first day of Kwanzaa. So to me, that also signifies the historical alliance.
In the Calumet Heights neighborhood, this younger generation is learning about the importance of Kwanzaa at the Bronzeville Children's Museum.
It's so important for everybody, especially our African-American brothers and sisters, to understand wonderful principles by which they can live and help others.
Several families participated in singing, storytelling, face painting, and listening to Kwanzaa-inspired music. Gretchen Bright brought her granddaughter and niece to the museum to learn about their culture.
It exposes our children to something good. Oftentimes you hear people say, well, I didn't know about this or I didn't know about that. Well, if you come here, you'll learn.
Kwanzaa is a culture holiday, not a religious holiday, that's celebrated for 7 days. Sade Gray, CBS 2 News.
Yeah, so let me bring those up again, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, Jerry, because it's actually it's basically community service and mutual aid, right? It's all these things that we talk about on this show, and they've turned and Kwanzaa is basically encompassing a lot of those values.
We kind of we shared this in our Slack. But of course, my browser screen is almost freezing up here. But here, can I let me put this one up. Here we go. I'm gonna have to play it too. No, what just happened? Did I just disappear? No,
well, you're here.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so Lori Lightfoot, as we begin the celebration of the 7-day season of Kwanzaa, today we take a moment to learn the history and symbolism of the traditional altar from Baba Tiehimba Matu. Now we weren't thinking about it, but I tossed it to Ed. I'm like, oh, it's another Lori Lightfoot video. And Ed's like, we've done enough. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm just joking. But let's hear her video too, real quick.
Don't even think about it, Jerry. Okay, I'm not hearing sound on this, Jerry.
You're not hearing anything?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's worth the effort. I don't know what the hell's up with my browser, but you can find that on Lori Lightfoot's Twitter. Not hearing anything?
No.
All right. Well,
that's okay. That's okay. You can find out what she says on her Facebook page. We don't have to do any more Lightfoot promotions here after she tried to infiltrate our channel today. It was little disturbing how easy it was for her to take over at the front end of the live stream too.
Yeah. Well, she is terrorizing. She's terrorizing warming shelters now too. And my browsers have just frozen. Anyway, you go on. I don't want to slow things down.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, so I can throw in a couple links here. So we have. I'm going to throw in the Boxing Day link. From whychristmas.com. They go into a little more detail on all the origins of Boxing Day, but it meanders like a Lord of the Rings novel, because there's so many things that change over the years as to how people choose to either acknowledge or celebrate Boxing Day. It's just really odd.
Yeah.
And yeah, so here's that link. And then I got I do have I've got the official Kwanzaa website is actually called officialkwanzaawebsite.org, which I thought was interesting.
Cool.
So that one reads like stereo instructions, but there's a lot of information there. And then also we've got we have something that's a little more comprehensive from National Museum of African American History and Culture at the Smithsonian, which has a website. And let's see if I can pull that thing up here.
Interesting here. Heard that Boxing Day is also the day they box up toys to go to needy children. That's an interesting application of the phrase.
So here we are. Okay.
Thank you, Papal Penguin Gaming.
Kwanzaa is a time for families and communities to come together to remember the past and celebrate African American culture. And they've got a whole video there talking about Kwanzaa and how it was created in 1966, and the 7 principles which we talked about earlier. So yeah, unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, Jerry. Worker co-ops. That's what we're talking about.
That's a great concept. Absolutely.
Purpose, creativity, and faith. So yeah, I mean they basically all the things that any kind of decent culture that cares about its own people and citizens and everything, would basically take those elements and put them to heart there.
Absolutely. The tenets of taking care of each other.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Constitutional Conservative asks, Jerry, can we help Lori box her personal effects out of her mayoral office? We can hope. Speaking of Lori Lightfoot, here she is at the Warming Center. Today I visited residents that are, and look, Ed does a much better Lori Lightfoot than I do, but since I'm popping this link up, I'm not.
Jerry, my voice is nearly gone, so I appreciate any assistance today.
All right, I caught this on Twitter and I shared it in our Slack as Death Takes a Holiday. Today I visited residents at our warming centers across the city. Thank you to our dedicated city workers who ensure that we keep Chicagoans safe and warm during extreme weather and in time of need. So let's take a look at some of these slides. I love the way that she dressed for the occasion. Here we go with the first one. She's OG gangster. Is that what they call this? There she is. Now, Kit mentioned in the Slack, and I give him kudos for this, looks more like whose soul she will eat. And I can't disagree with you on that, Kit.
I mean, I don't want to keep ragging on our mayor, but I mean, with the hat and the mask, she's like a comic book villain.
I know. It's so easy to, though. She makes it so easy. Anyway, nice that she went out to those warming centers, but I'm going to say this, Ed. I've noticed that the warming centers are only open until 8:00. Where does everybody go after 8:00?
That's a problem.
7 warming centers.
These warming centers should be 24/7.
Yep.
And there should be, they should have plenty of staff to be able to help people, especially if they're dealing with homelessness or some other type of situation that makes them need to be in a warming center. There should be people available to help.
And they should be exempt from political photo ops is what they should also be.
And so, and look, and I know, and thanks to the staff that are at these locations, I'm glad that at least somebody's there, in the times that they are available. But we should. I mean, our city needs to focus on those of us who have the least, and support them and make sure that everyone else is able to support each other instead of just going for the next business deal, like the 3-year contract with NASCAR. Is that helping the homeless? I don't know.
Hey, everything we were out there last Friday doing, asking people to come out and bring food and toys, was, to serve that need, and that's what the city's got to be. Look, we're doing it, and charities are doing it, or trying to do it all over the city, because the city and our elected representatives are so impotent in actually carrying through on the important initiatives instead of the distractions like NASCAR and casinos.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. Arturo shares warming centers should be staffed by guilty drunk drivers needing to serve their community services. That's that 24/7 too, Art. I think that's a great proposal. Absolutely great proposal. Hoptocopter agrees. Anyway, let's get rid of her. She's just anyway.
All right. I think we can move on to our next story.
Sounds good.
What is our next story? Ah, yes. Well, we're gonna do. I mean, some of this is a few days old, but since we had the holiday break, with the news and everything, we didn't really get a chance to give updates on the Chicago mayoral race. And so I can bring that up really quick here. So we know we have to say farewell.
I had a feeling.
To Johnny Legalbo.
Good ideas regarding mental health, and I thought it was really refreshing at that Mayoral forum that he shared some of his ideas with us. And one of the questions I asked him was, you're a newcomer. It's going to be a real uphill battle. On the chance, I was being, respectful. You don't go the distance. How will you be involved in working with an incoming administration to address all these issues regarding mental health? And he was very forthright, and he shared some great ideas. So I hope that this isn't the last we've seen of Johnny Legalbo, but go ahead and share from Block Club Chicago.
Yeah, so mayoral candidate knocked off the ballot after petition challenge sustained. So petitions of Johnny Legalbo, a long shot candidate, yeah, boy was he, were found not to be legally valid Thursday. So now 10 mayoral candidates remain. And that's this is from Block Club Chicago and also the Daily Line. Chicago Electoral Board on Thursday adopted the recommendation that mayoral candidate Johnny Legalbo's nominating petitions are, quote, not legally valid for the reasons detailed in the two separate cases that were filed challenging his position. He was challenged not only once, but twice.
Okay. Now, do we? Well, I guess you'll get to who.
Do we know who challenged him?
I'm guessing
we'll have to find out.
Ricky Hollywood probably was one of them. Hollywood Hendon.
Yeah, that would be a good guess. Okay, so we're down. So we're down to 10 now.
Oh, well, now wait a minute. Scroll up. It says that though a long shot candidate, Legalbo's petitions face separate challenges from Andre Holland and Devlin Shoup.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming they're affiliated with campaigns, because normally, campaign challenges, as we saw with Willie Wilson and Ricky Hendon and Kevin Hobby challenging Wilson's from the Green campaign.
We'll have to find out who they're affiliated with.
Yeah.
But if I had your suspicion's probably correct though, Jerry. At least one of them's got to be Hollywood or Wilson.
Hollywood Hendon.
Yeah.
I don't know where that nickname came from, but
okay. Yeah, Holland's challenge to Legalbo's candidacy takes aim at his failure to file the necessary paperwork. Okay.
Including a statement of let's go into the details though. Including a statement of economic interest to officially make it on the ballot as the mayoral candidate. Holland also challenged the number of signatures Legalbo filed. The minimum required number of signatures to make it on the ballot as the mayoral candidate is 12,500.
So he must have been short.
Yeah, and Shoup filed a challenge on the same grounds.
Okay, it says Legalbo does not appear to have created a fundraising committee for his campaign with the Illinois Board of Elections, but he was one of 8 mayoral candidates who attended a Northwest Side Mayoral Candidates Forum hosted by the 38th Ward Democratic Organization last week. Gee, I wonder who covered that.
Well, we did. Kit and I were over there, and it was also through the gracious support of the 38th Ward Democratic Organization and Ed Bannon, who's running for alderman of the 38th, who we will be having on the show soon to talk about his candidacy for alderman of the 38th.
Okay, Legobla has posted on Facebook several times in the past week, and on Thursday wrote, "Don't worry about hearing news now about me being kicked off the ballot. It's no surprise to me. I'm attempting a legal move by filing motions on these two issues, and we'll see the outcome. If they don't protect me, I will run. Still no worries." I don't know if that even makes sense, but okay. All right. Here we are. The Electoral Board's decision comes one day after mayoral candidates Jamal Green and Willie Wilson and their supporters withdrew challenges to each other's petitions, securing each of them a place on next year's ballot.
Can I speak to that real quick?
Yeah.
We talked about this Friday at our live stream at the Patio Theater. I think that there was a quid pro quo reached between campaigns because clearly Wilson could not extricate himself from the pile of steaming elephant shit that Hendon left on his campaign's doorstep with that attempted bribe of Jamal's campaign representative, Kevin Hobby. That said, Tribe went and said, well, and Kira talked about this last Tuesday. Did Jamal Green's campaign have the right to release that private recording? If they didn't, no one would know that there was a bribe. That's what whistleblowing is all about. So I think that, Wilson, it was probably Wilson's way of or his campaign's way of delicately stepping away from the optics of Hendon bribing Jamal's campaign volunteer and also preventing Green from having to spend a lot of money and waste time defending the petition challenge, because that's what knocked him out of the race last time. And that's where a lot of this bad blood came from. Willie Wilson challenged his petitions in the last mayoral race, which cost Jamal money and time, and it essentially hobbled his campaign. I think this time around, they probably knew, I'm speculating, they probably knew how to negotiate this so that they could run on the strength of each of their candidacies, of which I think that Jamal's going to stand up much better. But, time will tell when the voters of Chicago see what Wilson lacks and what Jamal is offering. So,
yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, suburban Hazel Crest candidate Willie Wilson can do what he wants, he's with his own money, but, he's not from Chicago. I don't understand why no one else is challenging him on his residency.
Why should anybody have to? Why isn't the election board saying, Dr. Wilson, you have two homes. You spend more time in Hazel Crest, which means you're not a resident in the city. Sorry, you're fired. You're out. That shouldn't be a petition challenge thing. I thought that's what the Board of Elections is for, is to investigate and maintain integrity in the race amongst all the candidates. That you have to file a complaint or a challenge to someone's residency. The Board of Elections should be able to go look and see where does he file his tax returns, where does he get his bills.
Right? Should be part of his verification for getting ballot access, right?
Absolutely. Nice. Papal Penguin Gaming shares Jamal Green actually personally called him, and we chatted for a few minutes before I had to clock in for work. Jamal's a good guy, everyone. I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of his and I'm supporting him. And I can say that because we're not journalists. I'm not trying to influence people. I just have an opinion, and that's my opinion. So I do think, we have a good, despite the fact I'm very much behind Green, I think we have a good slate of candidates. That what was most impressive at that mayoral forum, Ed, was their willingness to come together on a lot of the issues. That's what impressed me the most. There was no petty fighting up there. When asked questions by Ben Jarofsky, who I thought moderated it very well, they seem to be in agreement regarding a lot of the things that we talk about here, from mental health clinics to police reform to property taxation. So whoever comes out on top, I think this round of candidates will hopefully be serving our interests a little bit better than the status quo that we've got in place right now, or have had in place now for this. This will now be the, 8, 12, and 16 before with. So we went 8 years with Daley. Did we have, or more than that with Little Richie? 8 years with Little Richie.
I don't know. I wasn't living here at the time.
Okay, so if I think it was 8 years with Little Richie, may have been more. Then we had another 8 years with Rahm. So, 16 and 16 is 32. And then you've got 4 years of Lightfoot, which brings it up to 36 years of quid pro quo since Harold Washington's passing, when he started to reform things before, his untimely passing. And
I'm
things
thinking more. I'm thinking more.
I think that Little Richie was there a little bit longer.
Yeah. Kit says Daly Jr. was 22 years in
Okay,
office.
thank you, Kit.
Yeah,
there we go.
That makes more sense because I'm like, I moved to Chicago. I've been here. I've been in the city for 20 years or so, give or take a few years. The years kind of melt together, but and I believe Rom was mayor at the time I moved here. So
So what is that then? It's 22 plus 16, 6, 7, 8, 38 years between Rom and Daly, and another 4 years with Light.
No, that can't be.
Puts us at.
Well, maybe I was here when Daly was mayor.
22 plus 16 makes it 30.
I'll be honest, Jerry. When I first moved into the city, I wasn't paying very close.
42 years of machine politics, Ed. 42 years of
yeah.
status quo.
A lot of machine politics going on
since Washington's passing. Yeah. Kit's got the map here. 8 years with Rom, 22 years with Daly, and now 4 years with Lightfoot. And constitutional conservative also. Yeah, Daly had 22.
Okay. The only other update, I guess, is Roderick Sawyer is still facing a challenge from Ricky Hendon.
Yeah.
So he'll either drop out or he'll get kicked off the ballot. I don't know what kind of chances Roderick Sawyer thinks he has, to be honest.
Well, let me say this though. I don't know what the challenges against Sawyer's petitions were.
I think they didn't think he had enough ballots.
Okay.
I think that's what it was. But we know Jamal had enough ballots.
Yep.
And
I guarantee you, he made sure that he had good signatures. This is a guy who doesn't want to, he's authentic and he doesn't want to.
Yeah, well, and he's tried this a couple times already, so I think he's learned a few lessons over the couple his last few attempts to run. So,
what to prepare for.
Let's see. It looks like we had a few alderman candidate withdrawals. The 21st ward race, Nicoya Washington and Aziza Butler both dropped out. Apparently, they were facing multiple challenges. Okay. Patrick Gibbons of the 31st ward withdrew candidacy. Let's see. Who else? Andrew Cleaver left the 30th ward race. Tawana Robinson left the 21st ward race, and Stephen DeJoy left the 6th ward race. So we'll have to follow up with some updated information on all the wards and who's running in them in another episode. But let's see. 6th, 21st, and 30th ward races are all wide open, as Sawyer is not going to run for aldermanic re-election. So I think that's a mistake on his part. Okay. And Alderman Howard Brookins and Ariel Boris announced earlier this year they're retiring. So those are available as well. I think that's it. That's it for our mayoral update there.
So speaking of aldermanic candidates, we're going to be having Ed Bannon, as I mentioned before. I've also talked to Patrick Brutus about coming on. James Ascott, who is interested in coming on. He's running for the, I think, unopposed seat in the ward that Greektown is in. And we're also hoping to reschedule Andre Vasquez. We wanted to have, I think it was after Thanksgiving, but we had some scheduling conflicts. And I also know that from speaking with his press secretary over at the Mayoral Forum that I do believe that Roderick Sawyer might be able to come on. There was an interest in him coming on the show also. Tony Boylan, an old friend of mine, is his press secretary now. So hopefully we will be able to set that up also as things move forward. We're moving. Oh, also Sam Royko, Mike Royko's son, is running for alderman. And I'm friends with one of Sam Royko's friends who proposed, why don't you guys have Sam come on the show? I said, of course, we'd love to.
on.
And what a nice tie-in. His father, the legendary muckraking Chicago journalist and commentator, running for alderman, and also, coming on our show to talk about the reform that he sees is necessary, that I'm sure, his old man would have been talking about at the Sun-Times when he was there. And I think Royko started at the Sun-Times, and I think then he migrated over to the Tribune after, who was the Rupert Murdoch? I think it was Rupert Murdoch who took over the Sun-Times.
Papal Penguin Gaming. We actually had Nick Ward.
We did
on. Do you remember how long ago
that was? 3 weeks ago. By the way, I am going to be creating a special playlist on Chicago Corner's channel where I will subclip all the interviews that we conduct with all of this upcoming Chicago electoral cycles candidates, from aldermanic races through mayoral races, as we've already had Jamal Green on the show a couple times. So maybe we'll get a few other mayoral candidates on along with aldermanic candidates. We also had Muez Bawani on a week and a half, I think 2 weeks ago, who's running here in the 50th, my own ward. And that was a fantastic interview. Kit was with us for that one. Really amazing ideas. And he shed light on stuff that I didn't know about our ward that needs some serious examination. So everybody who's watching, just hit that like and subscribe. Go to our YouTube channel over here on YouTube, Chicago Corner, and we're always very, very grateful for your support through our Patreon, Chicago Corner, and you can also tip us on YouTube, but we prefer you tip us on Rockfin because we get a little bit of a larger chunk of the tips there for the expenses that we have running things here.
And whatever you do, don't give any money to their Patreon at patreon.com/Chicago Corner. How did she do that?
I don't know, man. So at the beginning of the broadcast, when she came on, who was it that said, let me scroll back here. There we go. Extra Bulla Warren, the Chicago Internet Authority, another CIA.
Yeah, we just can't get away from those acronyms, Jerry.
Plus, yes, and yes. Constitutional Conservative also shares, definitely love Taco Tuesdays over Hot Dog Fridays. I was thinking of a That's What She Said, but you'd have to dive really deep. That's what she said to get the innuendo there.
I don't do Hot Dog Fridays. I do Pizza Fridays. That's how I roll here. But yeah, speaking of the best work yet, let's see the last work one more time.
Yes.
Before we get completely tired of it.
I think it's already, it's kind of overdone its freshness level since we dropped it on Saturday night.
If you haven't had a chance, it is on our YouTube channel. You can watch it at your leisure.
Chicago Corner's video got scooped by other outlets.
And I'm going to turn the closed captioning on because I think that actually makes it better. So here we go.
Yeah, all the punctuations.
My fellow Chicagoans and corporate donors, I find myself at this politically strategic time taking stock of the year that was and thinking about the exciting fiascos that lie ahead. As I wear this mask in my office to virtual signal my concerns about droplet spread, I'm thinking about what the next year will hold for our city, and also hoping you won't see my hypocrisy when I'm out on the town with Amy later. Collectively, we've experienced our share of challenges over the past 2 years. Challenges that have changed us. Well, mostly you and our city in unimaginable ways. But the one thing that has remained the same is all you ungrateful bastards criticizing my casino. My knee-jerk and ineffective reactions to crime, homelessness, and poverty, and my staff's numerous traffic violations. You goddamn kvetching peasants! Your criticisms are irrelevant. You just don't like that I'm a strong identity politics using lesbian woman of color who is destined to damage half the buildings downtown with my amazing NASCAR street race. Gentlemen, start your engines! I get results, helping a measurable percentage of people with my needlessly burdensome means-tested financial support lottery. I never get credit for the 3 or 4 potholes that we did patch, and at least we filled the rest of them with that freak snowstorm. You're welcome. And by the way, your joke saying I'm Rom 2.0, only 2 inches shorter, are not funny. So no matter how or what you may be celebrating this season, Festivus, Xmas, Kwanzaa Mardi Gras, Robonica, or whatever, I hope that you'll take a moment to bask in the magical beauty that our shiny Millennium Park bean exudes. All hail the glorious Cloud Gate bean and all its majesty. Where was I? As I continue pretending that our city is too broke to fix necessary infrastructure in the poorest parts of the city, I wish for our continued work with others to stuff those TIF funds with your tax dollars so I can keep pushing my own private agenda, especially for the extremely vital, important metallic bean sculpture initiative for Lori, which I'm calling the IMBSIL, or imbecile for short, to make our city even greater and shinier in the new year. We are, after all, better and stronger and shinier together.
Vaping can deliver toxic metals like nickel and lead into your...
Oh, you sons of bitches! You sons of bitches! Thought I shut you down!
Let's talk a little bit about the origins. While we're we're going to be having a filmmaker on from Big Picture Chicago, scheduled at 8:30, to promote their Thursday night screening at the patio. They're here. But okay, so before we bring them on, in the meantime, because we've got a little bit of time to fill, 10 minutes here. We were in. So what happened was it was Saturday night. It was Christmas Eve, and was it you or was it I who stumbled across her Twitter?
I think I found her holiday greeting, and I was like, "Oh man, this thing is ripe for parody." Right. And then we kept egging each other on in the Slack. We should do it. I'm like, oh, and I kind of felt like
I could tell Ed was not. Look, it was Christmas Eve, and I knew Ed was wiped out. So I felt like
what's his name from Ferris Bueller? When Ferris is what's Ferris Bueller's friend's name?
Cameron.
Yeah,
I was Ferris. He was Cameron. I was the bad influence.
He'll keep hounding me. He'll make me feel guilty. This is crazy. I'll do it. And
so we were tossing ideas back and forth. Ed had some ideas that I'm just like, oh, have her say this. I was like a ventriloquist, right? And with Ed being my literal dummy, but.
And I do, and I'm like, okay, let me write down the transcript of what she actually said, and then I was like, the original plan was just to time it to be the same length as the original, and I was like, no, this is too good to keep it. And luckily for us, we have a extremely talented editor at Chicago Corner named Jerry Vasilatos, and so even though I had basically made her diatribe like 3 times longer than the original was, Jerry managed to make it work. Plus, we had all this content to fall back on from previous things that we had done. So it's like when Lori would bring up things like NASCAR, Jerry's like, "Oh wait, I got something for that."
Let's look at how the sausage is made. Some of the comments I was egging Ed on. I was just like, it could start to you sons of bitches at Chicago Corner. Which, Ed had a better idea, like corporate donors. to this, how dare you take my efforts to distract you all from the hellscape Chicago has become for the granted. Now, I give Ed a lot of credit. He made it more nuanced and basically helped dial it down, which was great because it's like the idea being, maybe she wouldn't start out as abrasive. She would basally get there to the point where we had this wonderful.
I felt like it was like she started out basically as kind of like a holiday greeting to her loyal supporters and donors, and then eventually she would crack and decide that she wanted to start ranting about all of her critics, which she does.
There they are. You ungrateful bastards.
And so I mean, and I'm like, okay, I'm editing down. I'm like, this part's too mean. Let me dial this one down a little bit. I'm like, Jerry's got some really good jokes. Let me sprinkle a few of those in here. And I'm like, yeah, the ROM 2.0 absolutely had to stay.
Oh, it had, because I kept saying you got to use that gag, because if she ever really heard it, how pissed off she'd be about it. So you interjected it at just the right spot. It's not funny. And yes. Kit was encouraging it. He helped to encourage it. We have message for that. So yeah, Edward found it. That's right. I lose track of all the stuff we find that we share on Slack because then we all start like throwing in ideas, and then it's just like, well, wait, where did this originally come from? To the point where it mutates into what we ended up creating. So yeah, it was chef's kiss.
I was like, okay, I got a workable script here. I was like, I literally recorded it into the voice recorder on my mobile device because it was the most reliable thing I had at home that actually gave me decent sound. You'd be surprised at how good it sounded, even though my voice basically gave out halfway through and toward the end. But I was like, okay, I got it in the can. I'll send it to Jerry. He'll do his magic. And that's what you see in that video.
Yeah, I love editing. Plus, I had an archive of stuff already prepared, like the NASCAR stuff that I was able to drop in. And of course, the fiery hellscape of Chicago. We had that ready. We regularly drop that in when she's on here, filing her nails, ignoring what's going on.
And you found the Millennium Park Bean photos, which was good. I'm like, oh, good, he's got one.
Oh yeah. So really quickly, we always make a lot of jokes about the Millennium Bean. That came in under ROM, but I don't pay enough attention to the news regarding the bean as I think you do. Is Life had always pointed to that as a distraction, a shiny distraction from things?
This is just this crazy fiction that I've been developing about different characters in Chicago. I think it kind of grew out of the peg-legged mythos that some of you may not be aware of, where there's this guy named Peg-Leg Sullivan who was a real guy who used to take care of cows in the O'Leary's barn. So he took care of his family's cows. He took care of the O'Leary's cows. And some are blaming him for having started the Great Chicago Fire. So we did a story about that. And then I came on basically as a parody version of Peg-Leg Sullivan, who's basically a ghost who's haunting the channel. And so
we haven't been able to recover ever since.
I've been and every time I had him come back on, he would start embellishing a little more about his backstory, and I would create up this whole thing. And so I'm like, okay, maybe we can start doing that with actual modern characters in Chicago. And so Lori Lightfoot's an easy target for that. And so she had a couple incidents where, she was dealing with the Millennium Park Bean, but I don't remember if it happened because of something she had to do with the bean, or just the fact that the Millennium Park Bean is basically a shining example of a waste of TIF funds.
Yeah. And a distraction, a shiny distraction from things.
Yeah. And so then there was this shooting that happened near the bean, and so she enacted this ridiculous curfew, which I don't even think she's ever rescinded, has she?
No, she hasn't. People are still calling for it to rescind. Yeah, for her to.
So it just made the story even more intense of her obsession with the beans. And then I started doing these weird graphics where the Millennium Park Bean would become part of new things that she was pushing for the city. Yes, like the Triple Bean Casino. So I'm like, they're wanting the casino, and I'm like, oh, and I think I had been doing the double bean gag.
Yeah.
With she wanted to put a bean on top of the other bean, and that was my little fake story of on a TIFF fund special project that she wanted to do. Turns out her special project was NASCAR.
Yeah.
And so obviously we had to parody NASCAR, and then Jerry pulled together such great footage for that NASCAR
We
video.
got copyright struck for it, of course, even though I altered the Lakeshore Drive song by Eliota Haynes and Jeremiah to be Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive, running south on Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Anyway, I've kind of driven us into a ditch on this show, but it's kind of nice that we get to talk about how the sausage is made when we do things like these videos, and it's a nice segue into talking to the people at Big Picture Chicago.
That's true. We'll be on in just a moment. I see they're not in front of their cameras yet, but they hopefully will be. One other thing I want to mention, one of the things that I love about how Chicago Corner has evolved, Ed, I grew up listening to personality-driven radio. We've talked about this, WLUP, where we had Kevin Matthews, Stephen Gary, Jonathan Brandmeier, Buzz Kilman, and Tony Fitzpatrick. And, one of the mainstays of a lot of those shows was they would have a really eclectic cast of just crazy, irreverent, zany characters. And, whether it's very, very illustrious and respected and long missed Mayor Harold Washington, or me, Lori Lightfoot, who is just so sick and tired of you kvetching bastards criticizing me all the time, to very good, very, very good people here. And, we're here, we got to do stuff. I just think it's fun that we have like a fun cast of characters, and along with Ed's Pegleg Sullivan. And I'm sure there will be more to come. More.
Has anybody seen my keys? I'm looking for my keys. Yeah, your keys aren't over here, and you can't catch me, sucker.
Right? Yeah, remember Papal Penguin gave me Johnny B. Great stuff back then. Oh, that was nice. Thank you, Hoptocopter. So one of the movies we showed at the screening last Friday was Solstice, and we got a chance to meet Hoptocopter, who brought a bunch of Hoptocopter. Refresh our memory in the chat. I don't remember if you brought toys or canned food or both, but thank you if that was the first time you saw my movie Solstice. I'm really glad you could enjoy it on the big screen, the way it should be seen, with the nostalgic look at Chicago during the holidays. And by the way, you can still watch Solstice on Tubi or Plex for free streaming. Check that out.
Yeah, that was my first chance to see it live in the theater too. So that was nice.
Yeah. All right. So without further ado, you heard Home Alone saw it. I remember when I first saw Home Alone back when it came out in the 90s. Art, and it's funny. With Home Alone running right after Solstice, I have a big set piece in my film Solstice in a church. And when Home Alone came on, there's a big set piece in a church. And it's like, that's where I got that idea. Because literally the music that was playing from the choir to the way Macaulay Culkin walked into the church, to the way I kind of staged mine, I was definitely inspired by, the work of John Hughes Productions, because I worked as a production assistant on several projects here in Chicago back in the 90s before I actually directed my first film. And more of my experience came from being on big movie studio sets that shot here in Chicago. That was, I was working on Dennis the Menace, that was directed by Nick. Oh God, I forgot his last name. But Home Alone was under Chris Columbus. But I guess I was reminded. I kind of forgot the fact that I was cribbing from Home Alone when I had the big church set piece in my film. But seeing both on the big screen was a lot of fun. I think Home Alone's kind of held up. I remember when it first came out, I thought it was a little mean-spirited until I realized this is really kind of all about.
Sorry.
I put that drop in for you.
I know.
But we are getting ready to talk about movies, so it is one of my famous.
Yes. Okay.
Until I realized the whole point of the Wet Bandits was that they're like Warner Brothers cartoon characters going through all the stuff that Macaulay Culkin is putting them through. all the horrible, things that no one else would survive. So with that being said, as one of our other colleagues likes to drop, Nick Castle, thank you. That's who directed Dennis the Menace. That was the set that I worked on before I did Solstice. And I'm like, yeah, this is how the big guys do it. Thank you, Ed, or Art, for saving me on that. We have from Big Picture Chicago, Mr. Ryan Jackson. Ryan, thanks for joining.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. Good to see you, Jerry.
It's movie talk.
Yeah, you Home Alone, I remember seeing that in the theater for the first time, and it hits a little bit differently as an adult because that kid is like murders those people like 5 or 6 times over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love John Hughes movies. And it's funny because like my introduction to John Hughes was like that, and to a lesser extent like Curly Sue and stuff. But then as a teenager got into the 16 Candles and Breakfast Club and all that stuff. And anyway, really enjoy his work.
Well, now Ryan Jackson is the producer of Big Picture Chicago, which is an independent film screening at the end or the beginning of each month. I know we were kind of off with the end of the month.
Yeah, so it was confusing because last time it was at the beginning, but normally it's at the end. Normally it's the last Thursday of every month at the Patio Theater. Doors are at 7 o'clock. The show starts, a little bit after that. We have like concessions there. We have popcorn and a bar and things like that. So we like to give people time to get situated. But yeah, last Thursday of every month. And this Thursday, 2 days from now, December 29th, we're having our end of the year showcase where we've invited back a lot of the filmmakers that have been part of Big Picture Chicago over the year. And we're going to show some of their work. Some of it's stuff we've seen before. Some of it's new stuff from them. I think it's going to be a really fun show. And we're going to have a party afterwards with some music and some surprises. So I am excited for it. I think it's going to be a good time.
I'm playing.
I look forward to seeing you there. You have a short in our show as well.
Oh, are you going to play it? I didn't know if you were going to.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I realized I hadn't emailed you back, but I thought when we had talked about it the other day, so I'm excited to show that. I think that's going to be fun to see on the big screen.
Were you able to download it okay from Vimeo? Or I forgot where the link I sent you.
Yeah, we'll talk again after. Okay. I'll just make sure that I have the right specs and stuff for it. But yeah, and so looking forward to all of that stuff. It's been a really cool year to get to do this at the Patio Theater. And we've got to see a lot of work from a lot of local filmmakers and local actors and, production designers in some cases, people who do special effects and things like that. So it's been really fun, and I'm hoping this will be a good cap on that for the year. And, will be good for everybody going into next year because we're planning on doing this, as you said, every month, last Thursday of the month at the Patio Theater at Irving and Austin Avenue in Northwest Side, beautiful Portage Park, Chicago.
And we will always have Ryan on the show the Tuesday before the last Thursday of the month. And I understand we have one of the filmmakers here this evening.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Mikey, I'm sorry.
Mikey.
Mikey.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
to the show, Mikey.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me all right? I'm on a laptop with a subpar microphone.
No, we can hear you fine. You're good.
Yeah, you sound great.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's actually pretty serendipitous and strange you're talking about John Hughes because I was just listening to a biography on John Hughes today on Audible, actually, and I was watching a retrospective about The Breakfast Club, which is one of my favorite films of all time. So
yeah, it's a classic. Yeah. It's fun now to look back on all of John Hughes' work here in Chicago, and it really has reached a new generation. My niece Martina, she's now 21, but she's just doing a deep dive into all these 80s movies, foremost John Hughes stuff that was shot in and around Chicago and elsewhere. But John Hughes, I think, really was a voice of 80s cinema, and so much of his stuff just still withstands the test of time.
Right.
I just watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, just for what it's worth, a couple weeks ago, right around Thanksgiving. Still fantastic.
Did you buy the new edition that had the hour worth of new footage?
No, but I'm going to have to look into that. Okay, I heard the original was 4 hours long or something.
Well, what they did was they did not restore the scenes to the movie, but there's always been chatter that there was a longer version of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And what Paramount did was they got into the John Hughes archives and they compiled an hour's worth of fully edited scenes that ended up on the cutting room floor. But a lot of people have speculated, man, was that studio interference? Why did they shorten the film? We would have loved to see all these other scenes. Now, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, as it stands, that we know it, it was the definitive director's cut. Because as much as it's a pleasure to see Steve Martin and John Candy in all of these other scenes, it really would have slowed down the pace of the film. So I do think that the finished product, as we've seen it, is perfect. But it is fascinating to see all the other stuff that didn't end up in the film, incompleted scenes, not little short outtakes. It's an hour's worth of footage that didn't end up in the movie. So that was just released on the restored 4K edition of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that came out right before Thanksgiving. If you want to do a deep dive into great Planes, Trains, and Automobiles outtakes and lost scenes, I would really recommend to John Hughes fans and fans of that movie, they check it out.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting factoid. I did not know this. Actually, I think I may have. John Hughes wrote Christmas Vacation. His name will be around throughout the holiday season. So, Mikey, when you were talking about the fortuitousness of John Hughes, and you were just watching Breakfast Club, or did you just decide you were going to jump into like a Hughes movie marathon over the holidays?
No, it's that I follow a lot of channels that do retrospectives, like Joe Blow and Hats Off Entertainment, and they tend to cover John Hughes. I wanted to point out, speaking of how his films just sort of transcend the decades, I'm a 90s baby, so I didn't even live through the 80s, but I'm obsessed with 80s cinema, music, and culture and all that stuff. And when I saw Breakfast Club, this is like the, late 2000s when I was a teenager, it still resonated. It reached me on a really profound level. And I think that that's why these films they're timeless. They're very much of the time, but I think that they speak to very important, universal themes that we can all relate to regardless of our age. And I think that's why, I don't know, he's one of those names that just, you say the name and it evokes qualities, Lynch is another one like that,
His characters resonate in authenticity that people can still relate to this day. I think that that's what really stands out in his films. Yeah. Those characters were written in the 80s, but the kids in his movies, I mean, I've got a niece and 5 nephews. And, I watch them and it's like, the generation's very similar in the way they behave and the way that they look at things. Hughes really had his finger on the pulse and was honest in his filmmaking with the writing that he did. Yeah. Even going back to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Steve Martin at some points is not a likable character, but he kind of redeems himself. And, I think a lot of us I think what's interesting about that character in that movie is that he reflects kind of the average person's, myopic viewpoint, not really taking in what's going on around them or walking in other people's shoes. And in the end of the movie, that's what he does with Dell. And I think it's a great lesson, and it redeems Steve Martin's character. And I think we've all maybe had moments in that life where that wake up moment where suddenly realize, there's more going on here, that we have to be empathetic and tuned into.
Right. There's a really great heart in his films that I think has been absent in recent teen films. Right. It's all about honesty. I think just to curtail off of that and talk a little bit about the film that I have in this screening.
I was going to ask you. I was going to pivot into. I was going to say, okay, enough John Hughes. Let's talk about your work, Mikey.
No,
okay,
but it's all relevant because I grew up in the area where John Hughes set most of his films in the North Shore area. So I grew up around a lot of those types of characters. Despite,
did you go to New Trier?
No, I went to Lake Forest High School, and I was the Ali Sheedy character from The Breakfast Club. I was this weirdo that did not fit in my surroundings. I turned to film and the arts as a means to sort of escape and give myself some sort of focus and, a way to sort of create my own little world. And speaking of, some of the films that I make, a lot of the stuff that I make is very evocative of different sorts of 1980s, cultural topics and films and B movies, comedies. The one that we'll be screening this Thursday is called Crime City. And it's basically my little nod to grindhouse trailers of the 80s that seem to give away all of the plot and, to the point of just basically spelling the whole film out. And so basically Crime City plays as this overly long, beat you over the face trailer where it's just completely on the nose. And it's like, it starts to talk about one thing and then suddenly it's about something else. And then suddenly the plot's about this. And then who's this character? And it just keeps going, and much in the same kind of vein as like a Too Many Cooks kind of thing. I take a little bit from the old school and a little bit of the Adult Swim generation, because that's what I grew up with, I think.
Does it feature the obligatory voiceover narration?
Of course,
very dramatic.
I did the narration. So
cool. Can you give us a little preview of the voice, your narration character?
Let me see. Crime City. What did I say? I had a bunch of it's like every couple of minutes the title pops up and it says Crime City, where the crime is crimier, or something like that. There's always a new tagline. Nice. And it was a fun process. And I gotta bring up, I am one of the most run and gun sorts of people that you can find. If you look at the credits on here, it's basically every film I do, it's me doing everything from front to back. I write it, I come up with the idea, I shoot it, I edit, I light, I do the sound design, the visual effects, the costumes, I edit the damn thing, I put the soundtrack in there, I do narration. And I do that out of necessity mostly because, like I said, I was the Ali Sheedy, so I don't have a whole lot of friends. I'm very socially awkward. I find it's a lot easier to just sort of manage as much as I can by myself and then kind of call in some help wherever I can find it. So everybody who worked in this film, they worked for free. They did it because they wanted to. We had no permits. We had no budget. I funded it out of pocket. I used like dollar store shit and stuff that I got off thrift stores. And it was just a fun process. And a lot of it was very improvisational. Like we were making it up as we go. And, I had a little bit of an outline, but I let the actors play around with it. I appear in the film as a sort of parody of the Joker. I love to do as much as possible. I'm a very hands-on type of creator and performer. So if there's anything that sounds fun or it's like a fun challenge for me, I'm going to jump at it. And this was just sort of one of the many sort of labors of love that I've created that just sort of became its own thing during the production itself.
So my three questions, the three main questions all filmmakers get. Number one, what's the running length?
I think it's about 11 minutes.
What was your budget?
Basically nothing. It was my own money. I forgot. I lost track.
And how long did it take for you to produce from inception to finish?
I want to say maybe like 2 months, and then I kind of got burnt out, and I think the edit might have taken me another 2 months.
Now, I've been really impressed and delighted at the Big Picture Chicago model of bringing independent filmmakers from throughout the Chicagoland area into this community where they can showcase their films on the big screen. And of all places, a grand old movie palace like the Patio Theater. I would imagine, I don't know if you've been at any of the other screenings yet, Mikey, but this, just the event itself affords an opportunity for filmmakers to meet other filmmakers, to potentially cross-pollinate and work with each other and support each other on not just, being there to watch each other's movies, but maybe make the connections and network with people that can help you on your next project, I would imagine.
Yeah. And unfortunately this Thursday is not a good day for me. I have a lot of other obligations. Second of all, thing I might have to mention, I've wanted to attend these before. I do not drive and I do not live in the Chicago area. Okay. I live in Wonder Lake and I'm a non-driver. So, I pray if I can get a ride to one of these things, or I can get myself to the city in time to make these things, and I'm free of obligation on the day. I definitely want to attend such a thing because I think COVID really put a damper in the amount of opportunities that I've had to really go out and make any sort of genuine connections with other creatives in the scene. Facebook doesn't cut it. I think that Facebook's it's just overloaded. Everybody's going me, and you don't really have the time to sit down and really have a meaningful conversation with anybody. So I think I've definitely been, looking out for things like this to really get involved in and be a part of something bigger than myself where we can all sort of work together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a shame. Do you know if any of your friends will be out there on Thursday? Or I'll take some video for you, Mikey. We'll have to exchange emails. I'll share if Ryan is, and I'm sure Ryan will be covering it. We'll share some video for you.
Yeah, I'll be covering it, and we'll also there'll be future shows, Mikey. There'll be other opportunities. But it's funny, Jerry, that you mentioned the networking and stuff, because that's part of the idea behind this show on the 29th is that we're going to be having like an after party afterwards to kind of cap off the year. And we'll be doing some networking and stuff. And hopefully that's going to actually be part of like the model for the show going forward too. Because every show that we have usually ends with like the filmmakers and creatives and stuff that are there in the lobbies, like hanging out. And so we really want to try to like foster that kind of independent filmmaker community and cross-pollination, Jerry, as you said. Because Mikey, I mean, I make shorts too. I've had shorts in the show. I'll have one in this show. And my story is like your story in terms of like, I write it, I shoot it, direct it, edit it, score it with my like MIDI keyboard and GarageBand and all the packs that I've downloaded and stuff. And and then and it's good to meet people, obviously, to like collaborate on future stuff, but it's also great to just see everybody's work, I think, on a big screen. And that's like the thing, that's like the whole reason behind the show, ultimately, for all of the filmmakers and everybody out there, not just the folks coming to see the show, but to see their work on the big screen. Because so often we have our work released on the internet, and it's great to, have like the comments and likes and things like that. But seeing your work with an audience is like how we all fell in love probably watching movies, and so I loved video stores. I miss them. I still go to the Redbox just because it's like the sad version of that. But I love movie theaters, and so the whole point behind the Big Picture Chicago, for everybody out there is just to kind of keep that experience alive, and also to have that experience for people who are creatives here in the city, because we have so much like talent here and in all of the surrounding area, and it's just good, I think, to showcase it. So, man,
I'm glad you got in touch with me. Honestly, I'm brimming. Like I really want to go to one of these. I'm kicking myself that it's so hard for me to get around. And
we're gonna figure out a way. We'll figure out a way to get you down there.
Yeah, this sounds like exactly what I've been looking for. Honestly, like I want this sort of more homegrown, everybody coming together, sharing our work. It has been so discouraging to be a filmmaker on the internet in this day and age, where there's not really an audience for what I do. I'm not a content creator. Like I'm not making snappy things where I'm talking to the camera about criticizing video games and stuff like that. I'm making films, and I understand, I made peace with the fact that what I do is not for the general internet audience necessarily. But I still feel like there's a valid audience. And if nothing more, I do want to show it to a small group of people who might get a kick out of it. And then we can talk and sort of share ideas and take it from there. Yeah, I think this sounds excellent. I've definitely been on a nostalgia kick, kind of missing the old days and wishing maybe I had been a couple of years older enough to have kind of been around when such a thing was more prevalent to kind of screen publicly.
Well, I have a question, and this is total side note, but and Jerry, it's a question for both of you guys, and also Ed, do you make films at all too? If you can, if you want to answer the question, you can. But what's the movie that you guys saw that made you like want to be a filmmaker? Do you remember? Did you have that experience? And was it in a movie theater or was it on television?
I'm not exactly a filmmaker per se, but over the years, including with my youth, I've done a lot of like editing. Like when I was a kid, I used to make holiday videos and cut them together by going from my VHS to the Betamax and back to the VHS, just to cut little clips in either from movies, little cutouts in movies, which which is actually kind of similar to some of the things drop-ins that we do here on Chicago Corner, but that's just a coincidence here. And then in college, I was the camera guy and a background voice for a public access television show that we did called Northern Underground up at Northern Michigan University. And so I had a lot of fun doing these types of entertainment conglomerations where you would take content, or you would find interesting things and you would shoot them, or you would cover them and whatever. And so, and of course, if you've watched any of the things I've been cutting together, and the Lori Lightfoot impersonations and all of that stuff, I'm certainly wanting to get involved in a lot of that, but I haven't actually shot or written and directed a movie yet. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to say that I'll never do that, because I know Jerry Vasilatos, and I know if I even have even half of a decent script together, he's going to push me to finish it.
I have already with self-publishing. Yeah, Mikey, go. I'd like to hear from Mikey's thoughts on this.
Yeah, sure. I've been shooting videos on and off since I was like about 8 years old, when I got my first Sony Handycam. Just high 8 videotapes back in the day, no editing or anything. But I remember that even before then, I was watching movies, probably like, kid-friendly movies like Jurassic Park or something like that. But then I got a little bit older and I was watching stuff like The Terminator. And I always knew that these are movies. My dad is an actor, so I knew that he went out and acted in movies and it was fake. He had a video camera, so when we were little kids, we used to kind of put on little movies, and he would film it and we'd act things out. We'd pretend. And I had a concept that movies that I watched on the TV were things that people filmed with a camera. And I figured I can do that too. So I just remember this was like a seed that was planted very early in my childhood. I love watching these movies. Like anything else that I like, I want to make it as well. Like I want to get my hands in there and do something about it. Cook, make art, paint, whatever, make music. So yeah, I finally got the camera at age 8, and I was just like, every movie I watched from then on, I started to look at it from more of a critical perspective, like breaking it down, like, oh, these shots are really cool. The special effects are really cool. I like the set design or something like that, almost to a fault, because now I watch movies and it's like I have trouble getting immersed in the reality of the story, because I'm looking at it from this perspective of the cinematography is amazing. Oh my God, like look at that shot,
Yeah. When you bring that up with cinematography, my mind goes to the tracking shot from Goodfellas.
Yeah,
where they go to the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And they're following them all the way in and down the stairs and through the kitchen and all the way in the place where they set up a table for them. And I'm like, this is like one continuous shot. And I'm like, how the hell did they do that?
I got
also such like extreme light sources too, from like an exterior light source to like interior and stuff.
I had so much. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, just like being a kid, and like the more I filmed and the more I like experimented with like, basic editing software and sort of played around with different techniques, I started to see it more. And therefore, the more I saw in a film, the more I learned how to like replicate it on a no budget basis. And I think that I never had any formal training or anything like that until, my mid-20s, when I finally buckled and went to film school. But even before then, I was just sort of figuring it out. And everything I know how to do right now is just more or less like I figured out like the thrift store version of how to pull it off,
And YouTube videos teach you also.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to?
YouTube is great film school.
I went to school at a school that's now defunct. It was called Tribeca Flashpoint.
Oh, I know. They were in direct competition with Columbia.
I applied to Columbia and I got in there too, but I picked Flashpoint, and not because I thought I needed to go to film school, but I thought it would be a good opportunity to get access to resources I didn't have as just a loner living in the middle of nowhere. And I wanted to meet people. And that was the most important thing for me, was just to meet other people who did what I did, because I didn't know anybody in my hometown who did what I did. So, I got what I needed out of that school. I had already been making short films. I graduated. I continued making short films just the way I had beforehand. So You know,
I had a
Ed, you mentioned editing earlier, and I think like editing is definitely filmmaking. I don't know about you guys, but like my favorite part of the whole filmmaking process is like getting all those pieces together, all like having it all shot, having all my like sound effects and like music and stuff like in the bin, and like getting ready to lay it out and like put what was in my head like on a timeline. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle, you know? And I hate doing jigsaw puzzles in real life. I think it's tedious as hell, but like one of my favorite things is that moment, like when you have all your stuff and you're like, all right, now I can like shape it, you know what I mean? And and see how it looks.
I actually feel like that's probably my least favorite part of the process.
Would you have someone else edit for
the
you?
editing part, or like the preparing to edit?
The edit. Well, yeah. There's the procrastination. There's the executive dysfunction because it's an undertaking. I'm like, I just shot all this stuff, and I'm afraid that when I start to put it together, it's not going to flow right. So I can't even approach this edit now. My favorite part is always just being there on the set and shooting and directing it. Just like, because I'm very run and gun. I don't prep the shots beforehand because usually I'm just shooting in an area where I don't have any permits. So I'm needing to get in there fast, get the shots, get out of there. Don't bother
anybody. Do you kind of storyboard in your head at all? Like, do you have like an idea of like kind of the coverage you need?
I know what it's going to look like when it's done. So I basically just reverse engineer and I try to articulate that in reality as best as I can. And I'll show up to the location. I'll just look around the location. I have it blocked out in my head and I'll just go, okay. And then I'll just sort of plan out the shots as I go.
One of the shorts we showed of yours earlier this year was Godbox. You had John McDonald in there. How do you know him? Because he's been in other shorts. He knows some of the other filmmakers.
He's in like 5 of my shorts and more to come because I love that dude. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's been there like all the time. He's a great dude.
I've got Jackie Kelly in the new one that I've just shot, and like I was saying, I've been I procrastinated on editing this next one. It's called Honeymoon in Red. I shot it this summer and fall, and I've yet to really finish the edit. But yeah, Godbox was came out earlier this year. It was probably the 4th or 5th time I worked with John McDonald. And I met him just through one of those acting pages on Facebook because I'll put out ads and I'll say, hey, I'm looking to make some short films. I'm just trying to, make some skits or, some short films. And I'll see who bites. And if they seem like they've got a good attitude and they're in it for the right reasons and I'm seeing that they're following through with communication, I'll just if I like them and I work with them once, I'll just keep finding roles for them. And that's the way that I like to do this because as I tell people, I have not seen a dime from anything I've done. If I'm going to do this kind of stuff, I'm going to do it because I care about the project, not because I think it's going to, get a lot of likes or something like that. So if you're an actor and you want to do stuff to get paid, this is not for you because I don't have the money to pay for all of this stuff. But if you're in it because you want to create something kind of unique and you want to play around and experiment and you want to have, I like to cast people in really, really unique roles or cast them against type. If I see that they're playing a certain kind of role in everybody else's productions, I might want to put them in a completely different role. And it's just, I want to keep it fun and engaging overall.
I had the Christmas dinner table conversation with my sister-in-law the other night regarding film schools and the importance of film schools and having I think learned more working as a production assistant on John Hughes movies back in the 1990s and seeing how the big guys do it. And I was at Columbia College. I was at Columbia College for the same reasons you were talking about Flashpoint, Mikey. I just wanted access to their gear. They taught theory. They didn't teach you how to make a living at it. And they certainly didn't teach you the on-set logistics that I was able to witness firsthand working as a production assistant saying, okay, when I get my shot at making a movie, this is the way that I want to do it. So I tell people, I've had actually parents come in and say, should I send my kid to film school? Blah, blah. I said, you know what you ought to do? You got to save the money you're going to spend to send your kid to film school, but rent them as many Blu-rays and DVDs that have got all the behind the scenes footage, interviews with filmmakers, all the stuff that shows tech, theory. There's so much passion in all the behind the scenes programming on DVDs and Blu-rays. You can learn from that. And I said, literally, and then, with some oversight, you'd let them use that money to look. The digital revolution has made high definition video available to everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
you can buy the tools to then invest in making the movie. So I think it makes more sense if you can. I mean, if you've got a kid who's a quick learner and gets it, that doesn't need as much guidance, they're going to learn a lot from YouTube. You need make a movie. My big nostalgic definitive moment for me was I grew up before home video. And my dad used to work at Bell and Howell, which was a movie projector company, slide projector company here in Chicago. And he had an old 16 millimeter projector. And he would put a sheet on the wall in the basement and rent movies from the library, 16 millimeter movies. And I got to grow up watching stuff like, old classics like Guns of Navarone, It's a Wonderful Life, Casablanca. But it was when my dad took my brother and I to the Gateway Theater over on West Lawrence, which is now the Copernicus Center, where the Mayoral Forum was a couple weeks back. In 1976, I saw King Kong with Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges on the big screen. And I hadn't really decided I wanted to make movies, but that was like a seminal moment, like, wow, this is really amazing to see a story this way. Then I went in high school, I loved drawing and I wanted to be a comic strip illustrator because I love comic books. But then I realized comic frames are like storyboards. And that was the progression to, I'm going crazy drawing things over and over and over again on the page. I can shoot it in a camera. And of course, like so many people of my generation, the eureka moment was seeing Star Wars over at the Norristown Theater, which is 2 blocks away from here. It's now gone. Another grand old movie palace where my dad took me and my brother to go see something on the big screen that just left such an impression that what's in here, I can share with other people on a big screen. And that's what led me in high school to taking an 8 millimeter filmmaking class. And then it led to me going to Columbia College and few detours along the way, but by the time I came into the muddy to make Solstice, my first movie, I already felt like I had the tools. And also, Ryan, I want to tip my hat to you because our holiday canned food drive and toy drive was kind of a culmination of something that you proposed as far as like showing Solstice at Big Picture Chicago. And I'm like, I don't know if it'll play well in November. I'd rather play it in December, but that opened up the conversations with Patio to screen it at the holiday, but also integrate the food and toy drive element. And I really appreciated people like Ed and my sister who hadn't seen it on the big screen for a long time. And I hadn't seen it on the big screen for a long time, but I was reminded like, this is how I designed this movie to be seen on a big screen. And it does play better on a big screen. And I think that we can always watch our stuff on video and catch stuff that we love on streaming services later. But if you can seek out a big screen in a theater, especially an old movie palace, right? This is a temple. It is a temple. It is a shrine to imagination and fantasy. That's the best. Because you've got the personality of an old movie palace as opposed to megaplex theaters that are, very plain walls and stuff. You go into a movie theater like the Patio or the Copernicus, even though it was the Gateway, they've kept up the inside. It's just a magical experience. It adds and enhances the experience of seeing something on a big screen.
Yeah. When you're surrounded by like the art of the architecture, and it's been there, for 100 years or whatever. And like the Patio's got that like beautiful lobby when you first walk in with the dome and the old ticket booth. I mean, it's a great place. And I live in the neighborhood, so that's how I know the theater. But I had shorts that had screened there and other programs and festivals years before. But just like, that place like is a relic. I don't want it to. I don't want it to not be in use. You know what I mean? So I'm so happy that we like get these opportunities to do this, and that the Patio's been really cool. And Mark, who's the projectionist over at the Patio, whose birthday, I don't know if he wants me telling people this, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but is going to be actually the night of the show. Yeah. Awesome. So hopefully we'll try to like coalesce that into our after party too. But they've, Mark's been there for every show. He's been awesome. He's the projectionist and stuff. And that I actually took that picture like standing kind of at the back there that we're looking at right now. Like of the theater with the lights on and stuff, but being in there with a crowd, and they have just put up like some like cabaret seating in the front. You won't see it in this picture, but they've got a new like kind of seating arrangement they'll have for the show. So anyway, it's been a fantastic experience, and I love old movie palaces. I mean, I'll go see movies anywhere, Megaplex, whatever, I actually try to like rotate between a lot of the theaters in the city. I just saw the Avatar, not the IMAX because that's closed, but a non-IMAX IMAX. But I like to go around to different theaters, and you can't beat the architecture of like a place like the Patio or the Portage or just some of those old beautiful movie palaces.
The theater is a character in the experience, and the screening is this Thursday, December 21st, 7 p.m. at the Patio Theater. Oh, December 29th. I'm
29th.
sorry.
You know what? And I made that poster, and I was like, that 29 looks like a 21.
Yeah.
And I feel like it does, but hopefully people will know.
Ryan, how can filmmakers reach out to you that want to share their films in future showcases?
Absolutely. So everybody, make sure to reach out to me. If you Google Big Picture Chicago, that will take you to our Facebook page. We also have an Instagram. Like and follow us there. You can send me a message through there. But also, you can send me directly emails to bigpicturecomedy@gmail.com, as well as Big Picture Chicago Submissions, if you're better with spelling, Big Picture Chicago Submissions @gmail.com. So bigpicturecomedy@gmail.com. Big Picture Chicago Submissions @gmail.com. Just Google Big Picture Chicago. You'll find our social and get a hold of me on there. We're always accepting stuff. There is no fee for entering. There's no submission fee or anything. We just like to facilitate the experience for everybody and support the work of the independent filmmakers here in Chicago. So please, everybody, come out Thursday for the party and the shorts. And I hope to see you guys there.
I want to quickly address something in the live chat from Ryan Clark. Are you aware that the Pickwick in Park Ridge may be closing next month? We saw that.
I heard that.
I've got an update on that because we followed that story. I was actually going to report on it. Thankfully,
hold on. Wait, Jerry, this is kind of breaking news, isn't it?
Kind of, but not so much because there were some news stories about it and follow up. Thankfully, the reports of the Pickwick Theater's demise were greatly exaggerated because it's my understanding from Mark at the Patio that there was a outpouring of support of other people that want to help manage and run the theater. There might be a brief closure, but the Pickwick's not going anywhere. It's going to continue sharing movies or live shows beyond the current management. So thank Christ, a beautiful venue like that in time is going to return. I don't know what the downtime is going to be like, but I have it on good authority that the Pickwick is not going to be gone that long. As far as, when they have their last screening, I think in January, they're showing Gone with the Wind, but there have been talks with other operators as well as with the village of Park Ridge to make sure that gem that is the center point of Town Square there doesn't go anywhere, long term. So we're very, very grateful for that, Ryan. But
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm happy to hear that, and we'll also be happy to hear that is David Rock Nelson, because I know he sometimes goes to that theater. He will also be having a show here in our December 29th show as well. So just a shout out.
How many films will be showing on the 29th, Ryan? How many?
As yet to be determined. We're kind of whittling it down right now. But more than 10, we'll put it that way. And there are some surprises too, hopefully, that may or may not be film related. I'm not going to say that they will be, but maybe they will be. But there will be like an after party. In
the theater or
with that,
moving somewhere else?
Yeah, no. They're in the theater. Most likely in the lobby, like in between the lobby and like inside of the theater. It should be a good time. I'm excited for it. And I'm excited for 2023. And Mikey, like you were saying earlier too, COVID, kind of like put a damper on a lot of creatives in like the community of that. And I'm hoping 2023 is going to be, even more of that and more of the community getting together.
Yeah, I got a good feeling about that. I really appreciate you doing what you're doing here.
Well, one question for Mikey before we conclude this segment. What's next for you? Do you have another film plan? What do you you could get?
Yeah, you know what? I'm really, really excited about this one, Honeymoon in Red, and I think that when I get myself together and I can just orient my mental energy and sit down and really hanker away at this edit, I think this is going to be the greatest thing I've ever created, and I think that's kind of why I've been hesitant to edit it. We've got Jackie Kelly starring in this film, and she turned an amazing performance. I had a really great DP on this one, so I didn't have to film the whole thing. It's some of the best set design, the best effects that I've ever done. I'm just really proud of this. And yes, I do have a bunch of other stuff that I've already written, and it would just mean, organizing the right talent, just maybe raising a budget for some of this stuff. I think that it would be a really great next step for somebody like me, is getting a proper budget so I can, expand my resources just a bit.
Absolutely. I'm excited to hear that. I'm sorry you won't be there Thursday, but I hope we cross paths in the future.
Definitely.
And you know what? I don't want to bogart the hosting duties because this is Ed's night. Anything that you want to ask or share here, Ed?
Just a final. Do you have any trailers you want to show us? Is there anything that you think we can show ahead of the festival, or should we leave it up to their imaginations and have them show up on Thursday?
I was going to say, let's leave it up to their imaginations, and that's mostly because I did not have time to cut together any trailers for anybody. We'll show this awesome poster that you guys have there. That's a nice, tantalizing tease. There's some cool stuff we've seen before, stuff we haven't seen before. It's going to be a mix, but we're going to have, a lot of the filmmakers who've had stuff in other shows, so it shouldn't be too big of a gamble for everybody to roll the dice and come out. Only $5 there at the door. And like I said, we're going to be having a little party afterwards and everything, so it should be a good time.
Ed, are you free? Because I'm planning on going. You have that night free?
Thursday evening? I should be available. I'll have to double check and
Let's
see
talk
if
about
anything
it.
else.
And Art in the live chat, my fellow filmmaker, if you've got Thursday night free after work, and Ed can join up with us, or else if Ed's busy, join me. I like to surround myself with friends watching good movies. So,
hi Art, by the way, just hello.
Yeah, we showcased Art's film, a Cold Farewell, or Ryan showcased Art's film, A Cold Farewell, at last month's Big Picture Chicago.
And
you know that I like independent film, and nobody ever invites me to these things. I'm gonna shut your damn channel down. I swear it, Vasilatos.
It's not just my channel; it's Ed's channel too, and Kira's. God, how do
everybody's invited?
I like you got a kill switch there, Ed, to get her out of our show and out of the 5th floor. Anyway, Ryan and Mikey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're looking forward to Ryan's return next month with other filmmakers that will be rotating their work at the Patio Theater for next month's screening. So mark your calendars, everybody. Last Thursdays of the month at the Patio Theater. Join Ryan Jackson's Big Picture Chicago and discover the best of emerging independent media here, or independent movies here in Chicago and media. Gentlemen, thanks for joining.
Thank you guys for having us tonight.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Good night.
Well, that wraps up a Tuesday evening edition of Chicago Corner. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I want to thank my super deep voice for returning after having blown it completely out doing Lightfoot voiceovers. And I'm hoping that you'll all tune in Friday. Are we doing the show Friday?
We are, but I noticed there's something in the show notes. So you want to do that NASCAR update? Or
did we? I mean, we can.
Even if it's just like a Cliff Notes.
I mean, it's just the Cliff Notes is basically, I'll bring it up on the screen for a second here.
Okay. This got extensively covered the other day by Kit over at Hardlands Media, so you can maybe go see the Hardlands Media show where he shared this information. But briefly to our Chicago audience, we want to do a quick update on what Kit shared.
Why critics say, hold on, let me do that again with my announcer voice. Why critics say Lightfoot's NASCAR deal is a wreck. Interviews with Chicago City Council members, experts, and a WBEZ, thanks guys, analysis of the contract show minimal financial benefit to the city and few specifics about who pays for related costs such as security and cleanup. Well, there's a shock. Super shock.
Super shocked. We're going to be paying for it.
Yeah, so here she is.
With her shiny bean helmet. That looks like a bean she's wearing on her head. She's going to put
Well, you guys know I love beans. I don't know why I love beans, but it's the shiny ones that I love the most. Race cars zooming through downtown Chicago next July will undoubtedly make Grant Park look like a scene from the next installment of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Let's go a step further. It's going to be like the fucking Road Warrior.
Yeah, I think, sadly, we don't have that video available, but
No.
we'll probably pull that one up on Friday, right, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm also going to post it as a standalone on our YouTube channel. Copyright strikes be damned.
Except in this movie, the Fast refers to the speed at which the city agreed to host a NASCAR street racing weekend, and the Furious are Chicago City Council members and residents.
Yeah.
And-
Let's not
and
forget the residents whose businesses and areas surrounding where they live downtown are going to be affected by this on a 4th of July weekend.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Who say the entire deal lacks transparency and sound economic sense. Yeah. Controversy surrounding the race weekend, a first for NASCAR and Chicago, started this summer. Mayor Lightfoot announced she had signed a 3-year deal. 3 years, Jerry. So not just
3 years.
next year.
So even if, but
3
I'm wondering
years.
if she is replaced, I'm hoping that deal can be canceled by another mayor.
We'll see.
We can hope. We can only hope and pray. Hey, Oreo.
Yeah, well, we're still trying to cancel that parking meter deal. Or
Yeah.
at least we're hoping somebody's trying, but I don't think Lori's trying.
No.
I know Ram said he was going to and then didn't. So just it's not surprising that Ram 2.0 would also
2 inches shorter.
Would follow through in his 2 inch shorter, taller footsteps. Okay. So yeah, interviews with city council members, experts, and a WBEZ analysis of the contract show minimal financial benefit to the city and few specifics about who pays for related costs such as security and cleanup.
And there's going to be a lot of cleanup. You know the type of cleanup we're going to see? Remember in Spider-Man, it was the second movie. So Spider-Man movies, there was Homecoming. There was...
I'm actually thinking of that Transformers movie they shot here.
Oh, well, that too. But I was thinking of like when Michael Keaton's crew had to clean up the destruction at the end of the Avengers. And remember, and he'd lost the contract. That's what we're going to be seeing. That kind of cleanup, like from Adrian, whatever his name is kind of a company cleaning up the mess that's going to be left with all the destruction downtown.
And so basically this NASCAR race is going to be compared to the attack on New York.
I think the damage we're going to see downtown is going to be like
from the movies, guys.
Yeah.
I'm talking about movies. Okay. Spokesperson for the mayor cited a report commissioned by NASCAR, of course, that promises $100 million in related tourism and construction revenue to Chicago, which includes people hired to set up the event, as well as money spent by attendees on shopping, hotels, restaurants, transportation, and entertainment. Repeated interview requests were denied.
Of course they were denied. Of course they're denied. They're always denied. She's not accountable to fucking anybody.
Right. And here, council members, on the other hand, said the deal lacked transparency from the start.
They always do. What else is new?
Gilbert Villegas says, I'm all for economic development, but the issue I have with it is lack of communication, transparency around how this project came to fruition.
Yeah.
It
was this, and it was
here it is. Here's the part I saw earlier. Okay, a closer look at the contract. Contract obtained by WBEZ by a FOIA request. Thank you for running that FOIA request. Shows NASCAR must pay the city a $500,000 permit fee per year, a guarantee of 15% of net commissions on concession and merchandise, $2 per admission ticket. Okay, that's kind of low. Didn't we see what the tickets prices were going to be, Jerry? They were like
insane
hundreds of dollars.
We shared
hundreds of dollars per ticket.
Yeah,
something ridiculous. So we only get a $2 cut off of each of those tickets. That seems like a bad deal right there. And a $50,000 security deposit for damages to Grant Park. Only $50,000. So what insurance company is going to cover that?
That's a really good question. The liability with the damage downtown, and not only to property, but to potential lives. I don't think I'm over exaggerating what the potential for serious tragedy is going to be downtown. Whether it's NASCAR drivers who are willingly driving those cars at ridiculous speeds along Lakeshore Drive and Grant Park, or if there was some kind of an awful accident that could, I don't know, like impact viewers in the stands that they're going to erect that we're also going to pay for.
Yeah, a security deposit. Really? No insurance they're taking on this? Just okay. All right. It just seems.
Oh, that's our update, though. I mean,
it's extremely short-sighted there.
Very. For a distraction. What really does amount to a distraction without a big return, but it could make people think, along with her efforts to bring the casino in, which is going to be a fucking cash cow of grift and corruption, that, you know, she'll claim can help support our broke city, which isn't really broke. It's just distractions and you know, her pandering that she's doing stuff that is ultimately, especially with the casino deal, going to turn into an opportunity for more crime and more problems downtown and feeding into gambling addictions. That's the thing that bugs me the most about it.
Yeah. And let's see. Permit fee rises to $550,000 in 2024, $605,000 in 2025. There's an option for a 2-year extension. NASCAR
option.
is
Okay,
also,
well that's not bad. If it's an option,
okay,
it means it's not enforceable if she's replaced.
Yeah, but is it their option or our option?
I would think it's a good question. I would think it's our option if it was properly drafted, but who knows? What else has Lightfoot bungled with or prior mayors, like with parking meter deals? That's
and then NASCAR gets all total broadcast sponsorship and signage rights.
Do you know how much that's worth? The advertising revenue alone.
Ridiculous. I mean, the city could have made a ton just on signage rights.
$50,000 security deposit. That's it. What the? They don't have to. Well, wait. The contract does not specify security costs by either city or NASCAR, nor does, you may have said this because I got distracted, but nor does it indicate how much the organization must pay the Chicago Park District to restore the park beyond the $50,000 security deposit. Do you know how much wear and tear is going to be on that area downtown?
Yeah, I think you'd want to kind of work out those details before that contract gets signed.
You think?
It says instead, the contract says a third-party landscape contractor will survey the site before and after the race and provide a damage assessment and restoration estimate for all parties to review and agree upon. Okay.
NASCAR, the contract says, is ultimately on the hook for that. I want to find out once that contractor is announced. I'm going to take a little trip over to Illinois Sunshine and see who that private contractor that's going to restore the park might be making their donations to this election season.
The contract also specifies Park District officials will receive at no charge NASCAR credential passes and general admission tickets.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Because that's the
must
priority.
Be nice to work at the Park District.
Yeah, that's important.
As for how the event came to captivate the mayor's office, it apparently started with a video simulation.
You know what? I'm going to see if I can find our video to pop up here. So you read through the article. I may or may not be able to bring this in, but.
Yeah, in July 2021, NASCAR partnered with iRacing, an online video simulation company, to launch a one-day street race set in a virtually scanned downtown Chicago that pitted professional drivers against one another. I think that set or something similar ended up in a video game, which I think we used as part of.
Yeah,
our
that's what I
video
stole
there.
from.
It was almost a feasibility study of how it can be done in the real world, said NASCAR street course president Julie Gies, or Giza, or however you pronounce that. By the end, both NASCAR and the city of Chicago looked at each other and said, "Let's figure out how to make that a reality." You know what? This is all. It's all like. I think we figured it out. It basically is that Lori talked to somebody at Lollapalooza. And then And then they're like, oh, hey, you want to do something with NASCAR? And Lori is like, of course I want to do something with NASCAR because I have a gigantic ego and I totally want to say, gentlemen, start your engines.
Plus, a big part of that was this stunning helmet that they custom made for her.
It's amazing. It looks just like my Millennium Park beam.
All right, I think we might have some luck here. Am I finding the video? Yes, I found the NASCAR drop-in. Let me put it on my desktop. We're going to give you all a little preview of what to expect next year when NASCAR comes to Chicago. Please stand by. You can fill time, Ed. I'm getting the circle of death here as I'm looking at the video. Okay, here we go.
Look at this: $269 for general admission tickets and $465 plus for reserve seating, and the city only gets $2 per ticket for that. Ridiculous.
All right, gentlemen, start your engines.
We have a guest.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Shining with the heavenly grace, help you right on by. There ain't no road just like it, anywhere I find.
Imagine that on
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Lakeshore Drive near Grand Park. That's what we're looking at.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
I totally was tuned in to all the crashes but
sometimes you can smell the green if your mind is feeling fine. There ain't no finer place to be.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive. Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Watch the two. It's Friday night and you're looking ready to start the rounds. Time to have lunch, but the goes back, make you show your pleasure bound. And it's 4 o'clock in the morning and all the people have gone away. Just you and your mind.
Jean-Baptiste Point to Sable Drive.
Tomorrow's another day. And the sun shines fine in the morning time.
Where are Jake and Elwood when you need them? Anyway, you all get the idea. I'm sorry it's buffering. I didn't have it prepared to upload into the show because we didn't expect to run it, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
All right, Ed, you want to take us out? It's your show. You're in the captain seat.
I can take us out, but should we bring our special guest in first?
Oh, that's for post show.
Oh, okay. Oh, in that case, you're just gonna have to guess who that was. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening, Taco Tuesday Boxing Day Chicago Corner. And please tune in on Friday. When what day is Friday? Is that next year, Jerry?
29th, 30th, Friday,
the
January
30th. Oh, it's still this year.
We will, but it will still be this year. Now, I also want to mention everybody that Kira and I will be hosting panels New Year's Eve during the day I want to say from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Kerberos Media. Our friends in New York invited us to host 4 panels. So we'll have more details about that. I will share more details with you, Ed, and our audience Friday night. So those of you who are at home New Year's Eve during the day, we gave them our cutoff at like 2 o'clock because we've all got New Year's Eve plans. But it's going to be fun. We're going to have Jimmy and Uncle Warren on. We're also going to have, gosh, I don't have the finalized guest list for our panels, but we're going to be covering some fun stuff and some serious stuff New Year's Eve during the day. So I'll share more details regarding that Friday night on the 30th.
All right, and with that being said, drink. I want to thank you all for joining us on. I told you I was gonna shut you bastards down, and I meant it. I meant it. I'm shutting you down. It's gonna be glorious re-election year for Lori, and I want you all to get out there and support the best candidate, whoever that may.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.